Chapter 1. Famine, Exile, and the Women of the Story. The story of Ruth takes place during the time of the Judges, a chaotic period in Israel's history when there was no king and everyone did what was right in their own eyes. It was a time marked by instability, moral confusion, and frequent famine. One such famine struck the land of Judah, forcing a woman named Naomi, her husband Elimelech, and their 2 sons to leave their hometown of Bethlehem. They traveled east, across the Jordan River, to settle in the land of Moab, a foreign country often at odds with Israel. The story introduces us to 4 key characters. Naomi, a woman from Bethlehem in Judah who faces tremendous loss. Ruth, a Moabite woman who becomes Naomi's daughter-in-law. Orpah, another Moabite woman, also a daughter-in-law to Naomi. Boaz, a wealthy landowner from Bethlehem, a relative of Naomi's husband, known for his kindness and integrity. Though this story begins with famine, death, and displacement, it will become a story of loyalty, redemption, and divine provision. Chapter 2. Loss, Loyalty, and a Life-Altering Decision. Naomi's time in Moab turned bitter. Her husband Elimelech died. Her 2 sons married Moabite women, Orpah and Ruth. But after about 10 years, both sons also died. Naomi was left alone in a foreign land, with 2 foreign daughters-in-law and no male heirs. In ancient Israelite culture, this was not just personal grief. It was social and economic ruin. Naomi had no protection, no inheritance, no legacy. Then she heard that the famine in Judah had ended. The Lord had come to the aid of his people and provided them with food. So Naomi made a decision. She would return home to Bethlehem. As she began the journey, Orpah and Ruth walked with her. But Naomi turned to them and urged them to go back to their families, to their own people and gods. Orpah wept, kissed Naomi, and returned to her people. But Ruth clung to her. In that moment, Ruth made a decision that would change her life and history. She said, "Do not urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if even death separates you and me." It was a vow of love, loyalty, and covenant faithfulness. Ruth, a Moabite, was choosing to leave her homeland, abandon her gods, and identify with Naomi's people and with Yahweh, the God of Israel. When Naomi saw Ruth's determination, she said no more. The 2 women journeyed on together. They arrived in Bethlehem just as the barley harvest was beginning. The whole town was stirred by their return. But Naomi, whose name means pleasant, now called herself Mara, meaning bitter. She said, "I went away full, but the Lord has brought me back empty." Chapter 3. A field, a chance, and a kind man. Now in Bethlehem, Ruth and Naomi faced a harsh reality: poverty. They had no land, no income, and no husband to provide. So Ruth took the initiative. She said to Naomi, "Let me go to the fields and pick up the leftover grain behind anyone in whose eyes I find favor." It was a practice allowed under the law of Moses. The poor, the widowed, and the foreigner could glean in the fields, picking up what the harvesters left behind. Ruth went out, and she found herself working in a field belonging to Boaz, a relative of Naomi's late husband. When he noticed Ruth in the field, he asked his overseer, "Who is that young woman?" The worker replied, "She is the Moabite who came back with Naomi. She asked to glean among the sheaves, and she's been working steadily all morning." Boaz approached Ruth and spoke kindly. "Don't go and glean in another field. Stay here with my servant girls. I've told the men not to touch you, and whenever you're thirsty, help yourself to the water jars." Ruth bowed down and asked, "Why have I found such favor in your eyes that you notice me, a foreigner?" Boaz replied, I've been told all about what you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband, how you left your father and mother and came to live with people you did not know before. May the Lord repay you for what you have done." He even invited her to join the workers during the midday meal. She ate until she was full and had some left over. Afterward, Boaz told his workers, "Let her gather among the sheaves. Don't reprimand her. Even pull out some stalks and leave them for her to pick up." That evening, Ruth returned home with an abundance of barley. Naomi was astonished. When Ruth told her it was Boaz, Naomi's eyes lit up. She exclaimed, "The Lord bless him. That man is our close relative. He is one of our guardian redeemers." What seemed like a simple act of kindness was, in fact, divine providence. Ruth's hard work, Boaz's generosity, and Naomi's recognition of God's hand all pointed to a greater plan unfolding, one step at a time. Chapter 4. A Night at the Threshing Floor, Request and Redemption. As time passed, Naomi began to see that Ruth's connection to Boaz was more than just a chance meeting. Boaz was not only kind, he was also a close relative, a potential kinsman redeemer. According to Israelite law, such a man had the right and the duty to redeem the land and family name of a deceased relative. So Naomi devised a plan. It was time for Ruth to make a bold move. She said, "My daughter, shall I not seek security for you?" She instructed Ruth to wash, put on her best clothes, and go down to the threshing floor that night, where Boaz would be winnowing barley. "When he lies down," Naomi said, "note the place where he is lying. Then go, uncover his feet, and lie down. He will tell you what to do." Ruth agreed, "I will do everything you say." That night, after Boaz had eaten and drunk and lay down in good spirits at the far end of the grain pile, Ruth approached quietly. She uncovered his feet and lay down. At midnight, Boaz was startled. Turning over, he found a woman lying at his feet. "Who are you?" he asked. "I am Ruth," she replied. "Spread the corner of your garment over me, for you are a guardian redeemer of our family." This was not a seductive act, but a symbolic request. Spreading one's garment was a cultural expression of protection, provision, and covenant, much like a proposal. In ancient Israel, uncovering the feet and asking someone to spread their garment wasn't seductive, it was sacred. Ruth was asking Boaz to redeem, protect, and marry her. Boaz was deeply moved. He said, "The Lord bless you, my daughter. This kindness is greater than that which you showed earlier. You have not run after the younger men. And now don't be afraid. I will do for you all that you ask. Everyone knows that you are a woman of noble character." But Boaz also revealed an obstacle. "There is another man, a closer relative than I. If he is willing to redeem, let him do it. But if not, as surely as the Lord lives, I will do it." Before dawn, Boaz sent Ruth home, giving her 6 measures of barley as a gift for Naomi. Not just grain, but a message of intent. When Ruth returned, Naomi asked eagerly, "How did it go, my daughter?" Ruth told her everything. Naomi smiled and said, "Wait, my daughter, until you find out what happens, for the man will not rest until the matter is settled today." Chapter 5. Redemption at the Gate, a Public Decision, and the New Beginning. True to his word, Boaz did not delay. Early the next morning, he went to the town gate, the place where legal matters were settled in front of witnesses. There, he sat and waited until the other guardian redeemer, the one more closely related to Naomi's family, came by. Boaz called out, "Come over here, my friend, and sit down." Then Boaz gathered 10 elders of the town and asked them to witness the conversation. Boaz told the closer relative, "Naomi is selling land that belonged to Elimelech. If you want to redeem it, do so." The man agreed, "I will redeem it." But Boaz added, "You must also marry Ruth, the Moabite widow, to preserve the family name." In ancient Israel, this meant raising up a child in the name of the deceased relative, so his legacy and inheritance would not be lost. Hearing that, the man declined, saying, "I cannot do it." It might harm my own estate. You redeem it instead." To confirm the decision, he took off his sandal and gave it to Boaz, an ancient custom for sealing agreements in Israel. So Boaz declared to the elders and all the people gathered, "Today you are witnesses that I have bought from Naomi all the property of Elimelech, Kilion, and Mahlon. I have also acquired Ruth the Moabite as my wife, in order to maintain the name of the dead with his inheritance." The people at the gate responded with blessing. This was not just a legal transaction. It was a public act of redemption, honor, and restoration. Boaz had taken responsibility, not out of obligation, but out of love and righteousness. And Ruth, once a foreigner, once a widow in a strange land, was now fully part of the covenant people of Israel. Chapter 6. A son is born. Restoration, legacy, and the hand of God. Boaz and Ruth were now husband and wife. What began in grief and loss had turned into redemption and joy. Soon the Lord enabled Ruth to conceive, and she gave birth to a son. This child was more than just a baby. He was a sign of restoration, not just for Ruth, but for Naomi. The women of the town gathered when Ruth gave birth. The women didn't just celebrate her, they celebrated Naomi. They said, "This child will restore your life, for your daughter-in-law who loves you is better than 7 sons." In ancient Israel, that was the highest praise a woman could receive. Then Naomi took the child in her arms, cared for him, and became his nurse. The women of the neighborhood said, "Naomi has a son," and they named him Obed. Obed would become the father of Jesse, who would become the father of David, Israel's greatest king. From a Moabite widow came a royal bloodline. From loss and exile came a legacy that would shape the future of God's people. From a simple, faithful choice, "Where you go, I will go," came a turning point in history. Chapter 7. A quiet story with eternal impact. The book of Ruth may be short, just 4 chapters, but its message is deep and its impact eternal. It begins with loss, famine, and exile, but it ends with new life, redemption, and hope. It tells the story of one ordinary family in a small town during a dark and chaotic time in Israel's history. No kings, no prophets, no miracles, just faithfulness, kindness, and quiet courage. And that's exactly what makes it powerful. Ruth, a foreigner, a widow, an outsider, chose love over comfort, loyalty over ease, and faith over fear. Boaz, a man of integrity, used his power not for gain, but for restoration. Naomi, once bitter and broken, was restored to joy, with a child in her arms and a future in her hands. And from this small story came a great legacy. Ruth and Boaz's son, Obed, became the grandfather of David, the greatest king of Israel. And from David's line would one day come Jesus, the Messiah. A Moabite widow becomes part of God's royal plan. A poor family becomes the root of divine redemption. And through their story, we see that God is always at work, even in quiet places, even in ordinary lives. Even when everything seems lost, God is still writing a story of love, a story of redemption, a story that reaches from Bethlehem all the way to eternity.